Today we're talking about Dalian Polytechnic University expelling a student named Li. Last December 16th, she went to Shanghai to meet a Ukrainian esports player, and they had a one-night stand.
Hello.
Hello. Kiss me, kiss me. What?
After that night, the Ukrainian esports player posted a video of their encounter online, which quickly caused an uproar. About 6 months later, Dalian Polytechnic University launched an investigation and decided to expel the girl. The news started trending on Chinese social media yesterday, sparking a wave of debate. People had very different takes on it. Some felt the girl had no self-respect, that she willingly threw herself at a foreigner, had a one-night stand, and basically brought the consequences on herself. From their point of view, getting expelled was only fair, but others saw it differently. They believed that while she may have made some mistakes, she was also a victim. The Ukrainian player shared a private video without her consent, exposing her to public shame and emotional harm. Instead of protecting her, the university turned its back on her and delivered a second blow by expelling her. For a place that's supposed to educate and guide young people, that decision felt irresponsible and cold. So now, there's a clear divide in how people see this incident. Today I want to talk about this story, but before we get into the details, let me first walk you through what actually happened. Back on December 16th last year, Li, a third-year fashion student at Dalian Polytechnic University, flew to Shanghai. At the time, the city was hosting the CSGO World Championship. That's Counter-Strike, the shooting game where you hide behind walls and try to take out the other team. I used to play it when I was younger, but honestly, I didn't even realize it had become such a serious global competition. One of the players at the tournament was a Ukrainian gamer who goes by the name Zeus. That's his gamer tag, not his real name, just what people in the esports community call him. Interestingly, the name Zeus sounds a lot like Zhazi in Chinese, which loosely translates to something like scumbag. In Taiwanese slang, it even carries the meaning of impurity. So, not the most flattering nickname, depending on how you hear it.
百炼成钢，打掉杂质，淬炼出捍卫主权、守护民主钢铁般的意志。
This Ukrainian guy, let's call him Zhazi, is actually a well-known figure in the esports world. He started playing Counter-Strike professionally at a young age and built quite a reputation. He served as a team captain and stayed in the scene for over 10 years. Over the course of his career, he reportedly earned about $800,000 in prize money, which is a huge sum, especially in Ukraine. In 2019, he retired from professional play, but didn't leave the industry. He started his own esports club, continued doing commentary during matches, and took part in exhibition games. This time, he came to Shanghai for one of those exhibitions. He also runs a Telegram group where he connects with fans around the world. Li, the girl in this story, was likely a CS fan and admired him. So when she heard he'd be in Shanghai, she flew from Dalian just to meet him. It's said she was the one who approached him. On December 16th, after Zhazi arrived in Shanghai, he went to a bar. Around 2:50 a.m., he was still there with her, and they reportedly stayed for about 3 hours. Later that night, they went to a hotel. While there, he started filming her. In the clips, she's seen with him on the balcony, smoking and looking relaxed, even smiling. Everything seemed casual at the time.
Hello.
Hello. Kiss me, kiss me. What?
Then the girl went to take a shower, and the guy was outside calling her name.
Hey, you here? You here? Okay.
After that, they slept together. The girl was even feeding him potato chips and stuff like that. Around 6 in the morning, the girl had fallen asleep in the room, and the guy was still recording video of her. I watched the footage. During the whole process, she didn't really show any resistance, and she clearly knew he was filming. It wasn't a hidden camera or anything like that.
Say hello.
Hello.
Hello, my best guys.
After the whole thing happened, the girl left Shanghai. A few days later, the Ukrainian guy, this scumbag we've been talking about, uploaded the videos to his Telegram group. And when he posted them, his tone was extremely flippant, even mocking. He called the girl an easy girl. What does that mean? Basically, that she was easy to sleep with. No effort at all. People began digging into this guy's past and found that he had a long-standing reputation as a womanizer. Wherever he went, he'd hit on women. In the videos he shared, you could see him approaching girls, chatting them up, and then taking them to hotels. His Telegram group was full of this kind of content. He constantly posted clips of himself going to parties, sometimes even orgies. He clearly had no boundaries. When he posted the video of this girl, he wasn't just sharing it, he was showing off. He acted like he had scored something big, and he didn't stop at calling her easy. He even compared her to a cheap Brazilian steak, basically saying she was low value, and he got to enjoy her for free. He was gloating, proud of the fact that he got something without paying. According to what some people uncovered during this Southeast Asia trip, he went to China, the Philippines, and Thailand. In those 3 countries, he slept with 12 different women, and out of all of them, Lee was the only one he didn't pay. That's why he bragged about her more than the others. You can see it clearly. This guy is without question a scumbag. After the video began to spread, well-known Chinese commentator Hu Xijin even wrote a post about it. He referred to this guy as the Ukrainian pig. Now sure, calling someone that may sound harsh, even a bit racially loaded. But honestly, if we just look at this man's behavior, it really is worse than that of any pig or dog. Why do I say that? Because even if the one-night stand was consensual, there's a line you just don't cross. What happens during something that intimate should stay between 2 people? Yes, the girl didn't resist being filmed, and she likely knew he had the camera on, but she never agreed to have those videos shared publicly. And he didn't think for a second about how it would affect her. Once the videos were out on Telegram, some people reposted them to TikTok, and that was when things really exploded. The video made it onto trending lists in 12 countries. The girl freaked out. Think about what that means in a place like China. Having something like this go public can completely destroy someone socially. So she tracked him down through his social media and begged him. She said if he insisted on using her private life to gain followers, at least turn off the comments. You could tell from her words. She was desperate, pleading, almost humiliated. Then she sent another message, saying that many of her relatives and friends had already seen the videos, and asked him again to delete them. But apparently, he didn't. And honestly, even if he had, what difference would it make? The videos had already spread like wildfire. On platforms like TikTok, once it's out, it's out. Deleting it won't stop other people from continuing to share it. The damage was already irreversible. This whole situation became a nightmare for the girl. At first, no one knew her real name. People online were saying her name was Huang Ting. Why did this rumor start? No one really knows. One explanation was that her mother's name is Huang Ting, and after the incident in December, the girl used her mum's name when she publicly apologized on January 1st. That part isn't confirmed, but this wasn't the only fallout. Another innocent girl got dragged into the mess. Before posting the hotel video, the Ukrainian guy had shared another clip, a video of him chatting with a Chinese girl on a plane. People online thought that girl and the girl in the hotel video were the same person, and that mistaken identity caused more rumors and more harm.
Alexandra.
Huh?
Alexandra.
Alexandra, are you? You're very beautiful. We like you.
In reality, that other girl had just happened to be seated next to the Ukrainian guy. They didn't have anything else. After the flight, she simply went on her way. But a lot of people online assumed she was the same girl who had the one-night stand with him. So she had to come out and clear things up.
大家好，我是 Katie， 很抱歉占用公共资源。近期涉及本人及前 CSGO 选手宙斯的不实新闻在网络上迅速传播。鉴于此，我特此发布以下澄清视频，向所有关心和支持我的家人们解释说明。首先，你们在网站上看到视频不是我，聊天记录截屏也不是我。
But no matter how you look at it, this whole incident caused serious harm to not just one, but 2 Chinese women, all because of this Ukrainian scumbag. The social impact was devastating for both of them. After the video scandal broke out, the girl involved in the one-night stand posted an apology online. Then she completely disappeared from the public eye. People said she shut down all her social media accounts, deleted everything and vanished. But then her name appeared in the news again on July 8th of this year, when Dalian Polytechnic University published a notice on their official website. It was a formal public announcement, and from that we can piece together what happened. After the incident in December, it seems that the girl never returned to school. The spring semester started on March 1st, but she didn't show up. The notice explained that between April 15th and April 24th, the school tried 3 times to deliver disciplinary documents to her, once in person, once by email, and once through a method called retained delivery. This means the university had actually decided to expel her before April 15th, but because she wasn't on campus, they couldn't reach her directly. The first attempt, personal delivery, failed. The second, email, also went unanswered. Then came the third method, which is known in China as retained delivery. What does that mean? Basically, when no one's home, they send the document to the last known address, take photos for evidence, maybe get a neighbor to witness it, and leave the letter at the door. That's considered legally delivered under Chinese law. This final attempt happened on April 24th. So, based on all of this, it's likely the girl had already moved out. She probably no longer lived at the address the school had on file. Maybe her whole family moved because of the pressure and shame brought on by this incident. The emotional toll on both her and her family must have been immense. Since the girl didn't respond even after the retained delivery, Dalian Polytechnic University decided to move forward with a public notice. They said it was to ensure her right to be informed. So on July 8th, just before summer break, they issued an official announcement on the school's website, publicly naming her in full, Li Mumu. In that notice, they gave her a 60-day window to file an appeal, meaning she had until September 7th to respond. If she didn't appeal by then, the expulsion would automatically take effect. This notice was later discovered online over the weekend and immediately caused an uproar. Why? Because a lot of people felt the university's handling of the matter was seriously flawed. Before we get into that, let's first talk about the girl's own actions. To be honest, what she did was wrong, and we shouldn't excuse it. Some people online dug into her background and found that she actually had a boyfriend at the time, and they seemed to have a good relationship. What's more, the plane ticket she used to fly to Shanghai and meet the Ukrainian guy was reportedly paid for by her boyfriend. So she used his money to go meet another man and ended up having a one-night stand. That's a clear betrayal. Her behavior was definitely wrong and deserves to be criticized. That said, why did the university's handling of the case spark such a backlash? Let me explain. The school cited 2 rules to justify their decision. The first was from the Ministry of Education, specifically Article 30, Clause 6 of the Regulations on the Management of Ordinary College Students, which says that students who are unable to complete their studies during the academic period may be subject to expulsion. That's one. The second was from Dalian Polytechnic University's own disciplinary regulations, Article 19, Clause 6. This clause is what really stirred public outrage. It states that engaging in improper relationships with foreigners, bringing shame to the national character, and damaging the reputation of the school will result in at least a disciplinary warning, possibly more serious punishment. Based on these 2 articles, the school decided to expel her. But here's the problem. This wording, especially about bringing shame to the nation and damaging the university's reputation, triggered widespread criticism. I looked into the same school regulation myself, and Article 19 also lists other offences, like indecent assault or molestation, which are treated with the same level of punishment, a disciplinary warning or higher. Even providing or receiving sexual services is also listed in that category. So people started questioning, how can a consensual but morally questionable act, even if wrong, be treated the same as criminal or exploitative behaviour? That's where the backlash came from. So in the end, Li Mumu was officially expelled. The implication here is clear. Dalian Polytechnic University considered her one-night stand with a foreigner to be more serious than acts like prostitution or sexual harassment. But let's be real. Both prostitution and sexual assault are actually violations of criminal law or public security laws in China. In contrast, a consensual one-night stand between 2 adults, while it may be considered immoral by some, is not illegal under national law. That's a fundamental difference. You can criticize it on a moral level, but you can't equate it with criminal behavior, and certainly not treat it as more severe. Yet that's exactly what the school seemed to do, and people started pointing it out. Internet users began digging up similar cases at other universities. For example, at Zhejiang University, a male student was convicted of rape and received a suspended sentence. Even then, the university only put him on disciplinary probation. They didn't expel him. At Guilin University of Technology, a student was caught filming up girls' skirts and was eventually detained by police. But again, He was only given probation, not expelled. Then there was a case in Anhui, where a university teacher had a long history of sexually harassing female students. What happened to him? He wasn't fired. He was just transferred to the campus security office and made to do desk work. Now compare that to this case. A female student has a one-night stand, yes, morally questionable, yes, deserving of some form of accountability, but she's hit with the harshest penalty: expulsion. The gender double standard here is glaring. People are asking, why is her punishment so much more severe than those of men who committed actual crimes? Others have compared this case to the official Ministry of Education rules that outline what actions warrant expulsion. I looked into those as well. You know what gets you expelled? Violating the Constitution, opposing the Communist Party, that's listed as violating the 4 cardinal principles, or breaking criminal law and being sentenced, or committing serious public security offences, or engaging in academic misconduct like buying or selling theses, cheating on exams, or organising others to cheat. So essentially, in the eyes of Dalian Polytechnic University, this girl's behaviour is on par with subversion of the Constitution, like being a political traitor or violating core ideological principles. That's how serious they made it out to be. Why did the school react so strongly? Many people suspect it's because of one thing: she slept with a foreigner. To them, it was not just immoral, it was unpatriotic. That's why the clause in their code specifically says improper relationships with foreigners that disgrace the national image and the reputation of the school. That line alone reveals the mindset. And honestly, I believe they do think this way, that what she did brought shame to the school and even to the nation. When I read that regulation, I couldn't help but feel like I had been transported back in time. Seriously, I was reminded of a movie I saw when I was a kid. It was about the Boxer Rebellion, when Chinese fighters resisted the Eight-Nation Alliance during the invasion from Tianjin to Beijing. The Boxers fought with knives and spears against Western guns and cannons. I remember one particular scene very clearly. Foreign soldiers entered a village and raped a Chinese woman while her husband watched helplessly. Afterward, she prepared to throw herself into a well. Her son tried to stop her, but her husband told him, "Let her go." That scene left a lasting impression on me. The message in that old movie was clear. When a foreign invader raped a Chinese woman, even though she was the victim, she was still seen as being at fault. Why? Because she failed to protect her chastity. As a result, she was considered to have shamed not only her husband, but also her nation. And the only way to redeem herself was through death. Her husband, meanwhile, was seen as the one who could take revenge to restore honour. But the woman, once her body had been violated by a foreigner, was already considered guilty by default. That was the value system portrayed back then, maybe 30 or 40 years ago. I don't remember exactly. But now it's 2025, and yet we're still seeing this kind of mindset. That's what's truly hard to understand. What does it even mean to have inappropriate relations with foreigners? Some people trace this idea back to a regulation from 1981 issued by the State Council, a document called the Code of Conduct for Personnel Dealing with Foreigners. It listed 10 rules, including things like upholding the 4 cardinal principles, protecting state secrets, and not being swayed by threats or hardship. But clearly, that code was meant for state officials, diplomats, government employees, or people working in state-owned enterprises interacting with foreign personnel. It laid out how they were supposed to behave in official settings. But today, with more and more foreigners living and working in China, does it make sense to apply those same rules to regular people, like a college student? In my view, that's highly questionable. Sure, in formal diplomatic settings, there are legitimate expectations. You don't wear beach shorts to a state dinner. You don't get drunk and rant in front of guests, and you certainly don't take bribes. Those things could indeed damage the national image. But when an ordinary citizen interacts with foreigners in everyday life, what does that have to do with national dignity? There are all kinds of people, both Chinese and foreign. Some good, some bad, some relationships healthy, some not. Why does any of this automatically implicate the dignity of the nation? Behind this thinking is a deeper issue, what I'd call patriarchal nationalism. It's the belief that a woman's body doesn't solely belong to herself. It also belongs to the country. This mindset is very clear when you compare the way male and female behavior is judged. Under patriarchal nationalism, if a Chinese man sleeps with a foreign woman, it's seen as conquest, a symbol of national pride. I remember back when I lived in Beijing, there was this bar, I've forgotten the name, where a guy would get on stage every night and encourage Chinese men to go drink, crack jokes, and go conquer Japanese women. He literally told people, bring more money to Japan and go sleep with Japanese girls. The crowd would cheer like crazy. In his mind, when Chinese men sleep with foreign women, especially from rival countries, it's something to brag about, something that brings glory to the nation. But when a Chinese woman sleeps with a foreign man, suddenly it's national humiliation, it's betrayal, it's shame. That's the core of patriarchal nationalism. A woman's body is not her own. It belongs to the nation or to Chinese men. That's the patriarchal mindset. And honestly, it's incredibly outdated and toxic. Yet somehow, we still see this ideology written explicitly in modern university codes of conduct. It makes you wonder, what year is this really? That's the first point I want to make. Secondly, as I said at the beginning of this episode, the girl did make a mistake, and she's already paid a heavy price for it. But at the same time, she is clearly a victim. In this whole incident, the person who deserves the most condemnation is the Ukrainian guy, this scumbag. If he were Chinese, he'd likely be facing criminal charges right now. He shared private, intimate videos online without consent. That's a blatant violation of this girl's rights. In any society governed by the rule of law, there's an important principle. Even if someone has made mistakes, their legitimate rights still need to be protected. These two things must be kept separate if we want to uphold justice for all. Take, for example, the famous Miranda versus Arizona case in US legal history. The defendant, Miranda, was basically a thug. But because of the way the police mishandled the arrest, the case made its way to the Supreme Court. In the end, Miranda was released. Later, he committed more crimes and eventually lost his life at a young age. But that's not the point. The point is that no matter who you are, even if you're a lowlife, your legal rights must be respected. That's what separates justice from vengeance. In the same way, Li Mumu may have made a morally questionable decision, cheating on her boyfriend and sleeping with a foreigner. But during this entire process, the one who truly crossed the line was the Ukrainian man. He's the one who deserves public condemnation. And what about the university? In my opinion, their role should have been to help defend the girl's rights. Yes, they could criticize her behavior. Yes, they could educate her. But going straight to expulsion, the harshest punishment possible, was entirely excessive. That's the kind of penalty you'd see for something like treason. The university offered her no second chance, no opportunity to learn from her mistake. She's only 21 years old. She still has her whole life ahead of her. To make matters worse, before this public notice, her real name wasn't even known. People only referred to her online as Huang Ting, which turned out to be incorrect. But through the school's official public announcement, her full name was revealed to the entire world. Isn't that a second blow to someone who had already suffered so much? Now, I get it. Maybe the school couldn't legally issue a public notice using just the name Li Mumu. But was it really necessary to go as far as expelling her? She hadn't even returned to campus that semester. If she wasn't showing up, couldn't the school have simply processed it as a withdrawal, quietly, without putting her real name online? Instead, they chose the most humiliating, punitive route. They didn't treat her as a student who made a mistake and needed guidance. They treated her like a stain they needed to scrub off their record. And all of this was rooted in that same outdated patriarchal nationalist logic I talked about earlier, where a woman's body is seen not as her own, but as something that represents the dignity of the school, or even the nation. That's why I believe Dalian Polytechnic University's handling of this situation was completely inappropriate, harsh, cold, and deeply lacking in humanity. Third, let's be honest, Dalian Polytechnic isn't exactly a top-tier university. It used to be known as Dalian Light Industry College, a merger of different schools in the Northeast. After seeing how they handled this case, I went and looked through their other management and disciplinary rules, and honestly, some of them were so absurd I couldn't help but laugh out of disbelief. Looking through their rules and regulations, I honestly found some of the policies completely outdated. Things like bringing shame to national dignity or damaging the school's reputation. For example, they state that if a student engages in premarital sex, they'll face a disciplinary warning or worse. If a student watches adult videos, that's also grounds for punishment. Again, a disciplinary warning or higher. I mean, seriously? Dalian Polytechnic University, have you not seen the national laws? College students in China are legally allowed to get married and even have children while still in school. So why can't they have sex before marriage? What kind of logic is this? This kind of thinking was debated in China 30 years ago, back when people still argued about whether premarital sex or living together before marriage was immoral. But who's still debating that today? It's widely accepted as a normal part of modern adult life. And what about adult videos? College students are all legal adults, over 18. So what's the big deal if they watch adult content? Honestly, I think nearly every adult in China has seen it. Do you really believe the school administrators themselves have never watched porn? Has the president of Dalian Polytechnic never watched it? And if they have, did anyone punish them for it? Of course not. So why punish students for the same thing, just because they're under your authority? At the core, this all comes down to how Chinese universities still treat students, not as adults, but as children. They see themselves not as education service providers, but as guardians or parents. But that's not how it should be. A university is a service institution. It's there to offer knowledge, to teach. Students enroll because you offer academic programs, not because they need a parent. Yet somehow, these universities treat every student like a minor, using this overly paternalistic style of management. And it's not just Dalian Polytechnic. This is a widespread issue across Chinese higher education. Look at some of the other rules. If a student comes back late to their dorm more than twice in one semester, disciplinary warning. If they don't live in the campus dorms and choose to stay off campus, warning. If they leave campus for more than 2 days without approval, warning. If they cook in the dorms, also a warning. Every little thing is micromanaged. It's all this parent-style control, as if these young adults aren't capable of managing their own lives. But the fact is, once someone turns 18 and enters university, they are legally recognized as fully independent under Chinese civil law. A university's authority should be limited to maintaining order in the classroom and on campus, managing academic and administrative operations. That's it, when it comes to a student's private life. What right does a school have to interfere? Even if this girl's actions were morally questionable, if she cheated on her boyfriend, that's between her and him. What does that have to do with the school? So in my view, what's truly troubling about this case is what it reveals about Chinese universities, the way they treat all students as if they were still minors. That, to me, is the most dangerous part. After graduation, many of these students struggle to adjust to the real world. Why? Because from childhood through college, they've never gone through a proper phase of learning how to become adults. And that's exactly what university is supposed to be, a stage where you shift from being a teenager to a responsible adult. But Chinese universities don't teach students how to be adults. On the contrary, they continue to manage them like children with strict top-down control, leaving them little space to grow independently. That kind of environment doesn't nurture people, it stifles them. It doesn't build character, it erodes it. To be honest, schools like this, you might be better off not attending at all. And maybe that's why so many Chinese parents choose to send their kids abroad, not just for better academics, but for something more important, character development. Because in China, it's hard to receive a true education in independence and maturity. You might end up a giant in knowledge, but still a child in personality. That's all I wanted to share today. Thank you.
Say hello.
Hello.
Hello, my best guys. Say hello.
Не сразу, не буду так делать. Но...
Да, да, спасибо большое за просмотр. Мне очень приятно.
Давай, позирую, я тебя фоткаю. Ну, разные, уже сфоткал, еще разные. По-разному.